Hi, this is Bill Ringle, host of the audio magazine My Quest for the Best, where we meet business, thought, and community leaders and discuss issues relevant to entrepreneurial growth. Joining us today is Scott Ginsberg. Scott is an entrepreneur and expert on approachability who transformed wearing a name tag into a six-figure enterprise. Dubbed the authority on approachability and voted St. Louis's Young Entrepreneur of the Year in 2008, Scott gives presentations, breakout sessions, keynote speeches, and seminars to tens of thousands of people each year and is regularly interviewed by the media for his unique expertise. Scott is also the author of 12 books, including Hello, My Name is Scott, The Power of Approachability, and Make a Name for Yourself. Welcome, Scott.
Thanks a lot. My pleasure.
So how did you get started with the idea of approachability? What led you to begin that?
It all started with an experiment in college, and I had this idea to sort of just wear a name tag, and I was hoping to make friends and meet girls, and only one of those worked. So I figured since I wasn't going to meet girls, I'll just make some friends, and the experiment worked so well that I had this idea to write a book about it. And at the time, approachability didn't really exist yet. It wasn't ready, but after a couple of years, I kind of thought that's sort of the bigger picture. That's the stand that I want to take. And so it was very organic, and it's sort of evolved since then. And at this point, my business 11 years later, approachability is a big part of it. It's not the only part. So I like to think that there's a little bit more to it than that. However, that's kind of my word.
Well, where has it led you to today? What's the cutting edge in your business?
The cutting edge, here's a good question. Well, I took an idea that most people would have just thrown in the trash, and I took it out of the trash and turned it into something. So I think one of the key lines is about ideas versus execution, because frankly, we don't need more ideas. Like, that's what people think. Oh, I gotta get the cool idea. No, you don't. You don't need an idea. You need an I did. And that's where execution comes into play. And so that, to me, is really hit home with a lot of people. I got a presentation this week on execution for entrepreneurs and small business owners, because that's what matters, is not just to have that idea, but to carry it to fruition and to do something that matters so it makes other people's lives better.
Scott, in your experience, has it been that people don't use that as the important criteria for success, having it be completed? Or do you find that people have some common obstacles in the way to getting things done?
Yeah, I think it's both. Certainly, it is a mindset, execution, and it's kind of a way of life. And at the same time, there are sort of key distractions, key things that people need to get rid of. And it's not about productivity. It's not about getting things done. It's about creating a filter for your life. And it's about asking yourself, okay, is what I'm doing right now consistent with my number one goal? Are the activities that I'm doing today, does this stuff even matter? And it's about being willing to delete the people, deleting the processes, and deleting the irrelevant stuff that's just killing you. Because the way I see it, execution is like a process of elimination. It's kind of like making a checklist and going through all the stuff that doesn't matter, deleting it, and then whatever's left is probably the stuff that is important, and you just do that.
Very clever. Very clever. You look at it and say, rather than all the things I need to do to fill up your day with activity, focus on the things that are going to help you advance your goals furthest, fastest.
Right.
So that's helped your internal productivity. Let me ask you, in the last 3 months or so, what's been the best strategy, tactic, source, or solution for connecting with new business?
I'm a big fan of not knowing and of kind of jumping into the abyss and sort of seeing what happens. Because I have this theory. So the sort of ready, aim, fire approach, I'm not sure that works that well. And I've heard a lot of entrepreneurs talk about ready, fire, aim, and I certainly understand that. My comment is, A, you're never ready. B, aiming is overrated. And C, fire burns people. So the strategy that has worked for me, especially in the past couple of months, instead of ready, aim, fire, I call it try, listen, leverage. And these three things, try, listen, leverage, what happens is you just try stuff. You just jump, you take the risk, you just try something, whether it's a blog post or a new product or an idea, or you want to create a group on Facebook. You just try it. You listen, you see what happens, and then you leverage it. If it works, then great. Then you keep doing it. If not, you move on. I mean, I did that with, I tried creating a very small kind of like meetup group, and no one showed up, and I got on with my life, and it's cool, and I did something else. So try, listen, leverage. I would go with that.
And you're willing to fail, see that you don't get the result that you want, learn from it, and move on. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of gotta fail yourself to success, right?
Yeah, because I think, Scott, that a lot of people hesitate because they're afraid of trying something that isn't going to work. Have you come across that?
Oh, yeah, all the time, and I respect that. I totally understand that mindset, and what's interesting is, like, I'm actually not afraid of failing. I love failing. I fail all the time. I think failing is the best way to learn. I think it's more fun. I think it makes a better story, and what's interesting about success is, like, I'm more scared of success. I mean, can you imagine anything more terrifying than getting exactly what you want?
It would certainly make you more careful about what you ask for.
I agree. So that's my thought.
And something else that I had read about that you are working on is helping companies to come up with a new idea that helps them take whatever brands they're working on and make it into something more tangible. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, Estee Lauder, the fashionista, she once said that men buy brands, but women join them. And I think that's a great lesson for all of us. We should go the women route. We should invite people to join our brand, not ask them to buy it, because it's a totally different mindset and, more importantly, a different heart set. And so I came up with this idea about 1.5 years ago is when this whole thing started, because I knew that these companies and organizations and nonprofits, there's such a high level of disengagement with their employees and staff that it's costing them money. It's killing their workforce. So what I wanted to do is create a piece of art that makes the mission more than a statement. It's not just some sentence that people memorize. In fact, it's not even just something you stick on the wall. I thought, what could we do? How could we turn it into art and then put it on the wall in a way that's interactive, that engages people, that's human, that's approachable, and that gets them talking? So what I put together is this art project, which is also part of a whole larger campaign that I do with my clients. And it's a combination of marketing, of art, of interaction, internal and external. And I've been asking people for years to answer the question, what's your name tag? You know, what can you do? I don't think people should wear a name tag every day, but I think they should find something that takes their identity and shares it. So the product is called a brand tag. And the whole point is to make the mission more than a statement. And these identity collages are hand-carved on wood. They're gorgeous, and when organizations put them up, people notice and they talk about it, and that's how you get people to join your brand.
So it kind of is a super evolution from a name tag, which is really interactive art because it starts a conversation.
Absolutely.
And what features do you encourage people to include in this? I love the phrase, by the way, identity collage. Is
Right.
it something that people participate in? Is it something, how does it work?
The way that it's set up is my job is to come in as both a writer and a translator and to interview the key people and to kind of hang out for a couple hours and find out who are these people, what's important to them, and more importantly, why are they? What's the why behind what they do? And I ask tricky questions. I have all kinds of ways to get people to really dig deep into who they are. So I get that. I document that. I go back to, my little cave, and I put all the ideas together, and then we come up with kind of like 10 key sentences, phrases, excerpts that are unique to you, that you own. Like one company I'm doing one for is a closeout company, and the CEO said, never fall in love with your own inventory. That's pretty inspiring. So we get 10 of those powerful statements or questions, and then we put them together in the collage format on the handcrafted art. We combine it with some key images that represent the company, and then the company actually takes the art pieces, puts them up in the lobby, puts them in the meeting rooms, and gives them to customers and clients and vendors, and it reminds them why they come to work every day, why they do what they do. And the best part is every brand tag has an intentional typo. It's put in there as a reminder to be human, to be imperfect, and that's a great way to get conversations started, too. It's like, wait a minute, is that spelled wrong? Yes, it is, and here's why.
That's terrific. There's nothing like giving people an easy entree into starting a conversation by pointing out something about the artwork.
Yeah, so it moves. It's not just a piece of art. It's a social object, and people sort of gather around it and talk about it. That's what's cool about it.
This certainly takes the whole idea of mission and coming to work to a whole new level. Why do you think that people don't realize the untapped power of having a mission like this?
Because it's never been done this way. It's always been some overextended, sterile piece of corporate dehydrated jargon, and there's no soul, there's no humanity into it. And so what they do is you get employees that just either delete it when they get an email or a message from the CEO, or they just very quickly, passively peruse it and then kind of get on with their lives. This is a bit more disturbing. And I say that in a neutral way. It's not positive or negative. Disturbing is about evoking emotion. And so it's a provocative way to get people to challenge them, to help them sort of plug themselves into a different equation and get them thinking about, why do I actually come here every day? So it, to me, is the future of both employee engagement and also the future of marketing, because that's kind of the other piece of it is now, in addition to getting your employees, making sure they're on the same page, now we have a way for you to tell the world who you are. So on your website, when it goes to the About Us page, you don't have to put this whole long script of text that nobody's going to read. You just put a picture of the brand tag, and people are like, ooh, wow, look at that. And you can get people that love you, that want to join your brand. They can buy one too, and they can have it in their house. So now it becomes a whole word-of-mouth process, and you got people as your advocates telling other people about you through this piece of art.
Wow. The phrase that comes to mind is if a picture is worth 1,000 words, then a brand tag is worth 1,000 commitments.
Oh, that's good. I'm going to steal that. Thank you.
Sure. Because you're getting commitment from the internal management team, you're getting commitment from the employees who work there, as well as all of the people who buy into it, who now bond with the company as a result of interacting with this artwork.
Amen.
That's really terrific. And Scott, you're so creative and you've done so many different things. And what impresses me is also how you are able to take creative ideas and turn them into products. When I worked at Apple, Steve Jobs was always known for saying the phrase that real artists ship. And
right.
In those 3 words, he was able to really inspire programmers who had these great lofty visions about making things ultra sophisticated and easy for the end user, put a timeline on it so that things actually got done. Were there any points in your career where you realized how to take things, these creative ideas that you have, and turn them into tangible products that you could use to share and inspire others, or was it something that's always come natural?
Part of it has come natural. Execution and commitment is part of my constitution. It's not just what I do. That's just who I am. And I think over the years, when I started writing books, first that was my first product when I wrote a book my senior year of college 10 years ago. I think for me it was like it had to be some way, not a deadline, but something to motivate me to get it done. And when I got my first book, I remember pulling it out of the box when FedEx delivered it, and I smelled it, and it was the greatest smell in the world. So now I don't have deadlines, I have smell dates. And with the book, with the brand tag, with any product that I do, I just ask myself, when will I smell this? For example, the new book that comes out in the fall, probably, I don't know, August, September, but essentially I want to smell it in the fall. So I know for sure at the latest, maybe October I'll have it done. I'm going to smell it. Not because finished or done, those words don't mean anything because everyone's got a book that's done. But I got 12 books I can smell. That's the difference.
Yes. That's right. When you smell it, you can sell it.
Oh, you're full of good ones. This was great.
And, certainly each time that you produce a book, it brings you to a whole new level of visibility. It brings you to a whole new level of opportunity. It brings you to a whole new level of new audiences that you can reach with your message. Do you remember one of the most memorable times that, for you in knowing that you could make this business of yours really successful? You've taken it to the next level. What were some of the milestones that you go back to and think about?
The first speech I ever gave in my life was on March 13th of 2003 to a Rotary Club, to about 70 different really old people. And it was cool. Like, I was terrified and had fun with it and pretty much pit-stained my shirts for eternity. And afterwards, this guy, about a 92-year-old retired surgeon, came up to me and he would say, "Hey, so, like, do you have a job?" And at the time, I was just kind of like selling furniture because I had to make money to pay for my book. And he said, "You should quit your job and become a speaker." And that was kind of the first light bulb that went off, because I was just giving a talk that they asked me to, like, sure, what the heck. And it just continued to evolve over time. And when you have a topic like approachability, or when you address an issue like execution, you know, you frame it in a way where you can sort of meet people where they are and let them put themselves into your equation. So over the years, people kind of say, wow, you know, approachability, that's pretty interesting. You know, I work in the recruiting industry and staffing and personnel. That's really important for us. And I'm like, yes, it is. You're right. So I just, like I said, try, listen, leverage. So I just try stuff, and I listen to when people say, hey, this is great for me because, and then that little alarm goes off in the back of my head like, oh, okay, well, why don't we leverage this? And I kind of tell people when I give a speech, look, I don't know anything about recruiting. I don't know anything about, you know, working in a hospital. I tell them, look, what I know are this idea about approachability. What I know is execution, and we're going to talk about that as it pertains to you. So in doing that, you open yourself to a lot of new markets, and part of it has to do with your willingness to just stick it out there and to be open and to be welcoming in when people add different sort of angles to your theme.
And I bet that as you do that, you get some yeses, and you also get feedback that says, no, that's not right for us. What is it that allows, yeah, I'm sure, and what is it that allows you to say, okay, let's keep trying and look for someone else who will say yes? What drives you to keep going?
Okay, good. Nobody likes to hear no. Nobody likes to be rejected, and I hate it just as much as anyone else. I got a great piece of advice a long time ago from someone that I had no idea who, I don't remember. She said the first word after no is next. And I think that's kind of like typical sales 101 type stuff. And when someone says no, it's like terrific. I mean, part of you is, some people would say as soon as someone says no, the sale begins, and you start battling them back and forth, trying to sell them. That's really not my style. I'm not a big sales guy. I'm a writer. So when I hear no, I'm like, okay, cool, next. And I kind of move on. And I'm sure I've left a lot of money on the table, and I'm sure I've missed sales, but I don't work with people I don't like. And I don't have clients that annoy me to no end. I mean, I hear that all the time from friends of mine that are freelancers or entrepreneurs, like, oh, God, this client is such a pain in the ass, and they're the bane of my existence. I'm like, well, then why did you say yes? I mean, part of execution is knowing when to say no. And personally, I'd rather be known for the things I don't do.
That's interesting. It also requires more than a little bit of courage to be willing to be known for what you don't do.
Yeah, and it's hard because when the economy sucks and when you got to eat, when you got to pay your mortgage and you got to feed your children, it's easier to say yes because it's money, and I get that. And I don't have kids, so I certainly don't have that sense of pressure that a lot of people do. I've been lucky to be able to say no, and more so, I mean, 3 or 4 years ago, I was saying no a lot more because the economy was rocking. Now I'm saying yes a lot more, and I'm trying not to whore myself out and trying not to be, misaligned with who I am. I think the secret is coming to this realization that when you say no to the good, you make room to say yes to the best.
There you go. There you go. And I think it also comes from what you've described as a strong sense of knowing what you're good at and where you want to do your best work, not just work that you can do, but work that you really are doing your best knockout, unique work.
Right. There's plenty of stuff I could do, and the client would be thrilled, but it wouldn't be my best, and it wouldn't make use of everything that I am, and I wouldn't be happy with it. And, yeah, you got to know where you suck, and you need to know what would just kill you, what would annoy you to no end. Like, for example, I'm not much of a team player. Like, I work really well alone. It's my style, it's my personality type, and I love people. I I crave human interaction and I have to have it every day. When it comes to my work, I pretty much need to do it alone because I'm highly impatient. I don't work well with others. I work well myself, and that's served me well. And I'm sure I'm missing out plenty of stuff by doing that. But I know myself, man, and I don't want to get stuck in meetings all day because I will literally jump out of the window.
Right. You'd mentioned earlier about bringing work back to your Scott cave.
Yeah, I mean, I work in my living room, and it's a challenge, and it's probably the biggest struggle that I'm going through right now as an entrepreneur and as a human being, is that it's lonely. I'm a writer. I'm an entrepreneur. I work alone. I'm in my living room right now, and it's tough, man. I mean, you got to go out of your way to say, okay, let's have lunch this day, or all right, man, we're gonna get together. I have a presentation to give tomorrow, so I get to see my clients and see lots of people. But at the end of the day, you're still coming home to your living room, and it's freaking lonely. So it is a challenge that I think a lot of entrepreneurs face, and I'm doing the best I can to maintain that interaction and to have virtual lunches with my friends over Skype. And you kind of do whatever you have to do to maintain your sanity, because if not, that wave of anxiety is going to come in, and I'm just going to sit here like, wow, I am talking to a wall, and that really sucks after a while.
Yeah, it's true. When you join the workforce, there are these structures that exist that kind of make it comfortable for people to work and get along together, for people who have that personality type. And
right.
For people who are entrepreneurs, we've got to create our own structures that work well for us. What else do you do to make your environment work well for you?
Well, I'm big on routine, and not to the point that I get trapped by it, and I got to be careful with that. But I start work early. I start work at 4 or 5 in the morning, and I write all morning, do my meditation, do sales stuff before lunch, and I try to have lunch almost every day, if not every day, with either a friend or a client or a colleague when I can, just because I need human interaction. I need to interact with. I need to like touch people. And then in the afternoon, I try to kind of leave it open depending on what projects I got. Like, this afternoon I got a couple projects that I got to work on, and, got some phone calls and stuff to make. But, I write most of my day, 4 to 7 hours every single day. That's what I do. I'm a writer. And when I'm doing a presentation like tomorrow, obviously it's a little different. So you got to set your environment up that feeds your creativity, that inspires you, and you got to get the heck out of the house. And I travel quite a bit for my job, so you got to make those travel hours bearable. And if that means listening to George Carlin records at the airport, then so be it. That's what keeps me happy.
I think that's great. And I think it's great that you take that approach, because it not only helps keep you sane, but productive and happy as well.
All important things.
You what?
All important things, sane, happy, and productive. That's the trifecta.
That's it. Scott, you've shared some great ideas with us today. You've shown us about how to take approachability, turn it into a career. You've reminded us of the importance about taking other people's garbage and turning it into gold, so that people actually get to execute on the great ideas that they do. You've shared with us this exciting idea about taking brand tags and making them interactive pieces that really lead to tremendous commitment and visibility and conversation and interaction within organizations. And you shared with us about the importance of routines to help keep us sane, happy, and productive. Thanks so much for sharing with us today. It's been a pleasure exchanging ideas with you on my quest for the best.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, man.